This is a story of purpose and vision, a story of having the courage to change, a story about finding opportunity in a changing world. We will meet the leaders of two very different companies with very different challenges.
The future vision of PMI is essentially mega smoking as we know it, the history.
We're not just talking about sustainability as a theory or a concept. We want to be on the right side of history.
We also hear from experts in the field.
If your vision makes sense, you will succeed.
Meet the regulators setting the standards.
My advice to CEOs is take this seriously.
And be challenged by counter-views.
The principal challenges that ESG has had is that it's overpromised and under-delivered.
Our mission? To learn, to discover how you make your sustainable vision come to life. Our first port of call is Philip Morris International. Once upon a time, cigarettes were the benchmark of social desirability. They were an integral part of our social fabric. But times have changed, and Jacek, the CEO of PMI, is acutely aware. If PMI wants to achieve its sustainability vision, it begins with changing their product.
With recognizing that, first of all, if we don't address the impact of our products, cigarettes, on the public health, individual, and the public health at large, it's difficult to talk about any sustainability strategy, very much from its credibility dimension. The future vision of PMI is that the cigarette should belong in a museum, which in other languages essentially is mega smoking as we know it, the history. The science today, technology exists to demonstrate that this very ambitious vision and the strategy is absolutely doable.
Jennifer, Chief Sustainability Officer at Philip Morris International, expanded on this.
When you think about sustainability and tobacco, they're not an intuitive pair or something that would go hand in hand. So it's very important working for a tobacco company that when we talk about sustainability, we need to think about materiality. Naturally, the biggest and most important impact that our company creates and needs to address are the health impacts of our products. And because of that, that is the core of our strategy. Naturally and inevitably, we're a big company that is present in many countries around the world that employs many people. And so it creates other environmental and social issues. Addressing this is also a priority, but understanding what to address first and where to put our resources and bring clarity both internally to our organization and externally to stakeholders is really the core of our strategy and the core of our transformation.
Philip Morris has been on this journey for over 15 years. So how far have they come?
Since we started our transformation journey in 2008, we invested in excess of $12 billion to develop the smoke-free products. We invested very heavily in the world-class scientific assessment capabilities. And now our products are available to the adult smokers in 84 markets. To date, almost 21 million adult smokers have successfully migrated from combustible cigarettes and are enjoying our heated tobacco products. They fully stopped smoking combustible cigarettes. These new products over the last 10 years of commercialization constitute almost 40% of our total net revenues as of the end of the first quarter of 2024.
But like any journey of change, where a leadership team are trying to shape a vision, it comes with complexity.
It's very easy to assume, well, if you are not going to sell cigarettes anymore, then just don't sell them. Just close your factories and don't sell cigarettes anymore. And it doesn't really work like that. You're really transforming an entire value chain and many stakeholders that are impacted positively and negatively by it. We're thinking about tobacco farmers, that we would need less and less tobacco. We're thinking about manufacturing facilities that used to make cigarettes are no longer going to make them.
PMI are in transition, moving from one value chain to another. And in doing so, they are balancing the different impacts that their decisions will have.
One of the particularities of PMI is that we are simultaneously managing the impacts of two value chains. The value chain that we're leaving behind, the cigarette business, and in a more proactive way, the value chain that we're moving into of our new products. Both value chains are creating different kinds of impacts. When you're transforming and you're thinking about how to proactively mitigate or avoid certain negative impacts, certainly on environment, on society, you also need to understand that there will be trade-offs. Our smoke-free products are, for example, more energy intense, and that means that is having a higher cost on the environment in terms of production, but they are also significantly less harmful than continuous smoking.
Not only are PMI managing the material impacts of two value chains in tandem, they are also focused on the impact of the operational side of their business.
Once we know that we have solutions to the product side of the impact of our business, it's very important that in parallel we also pay attention of how we conduct the business. And here comes the room for various sustainability initiatives. Obviously those which are very close to the hearts and minds of most of us, which is impact on the climate, what we can do to reach the carbon neutrality. Our own targets is in the direct operations by 2025, Philip Morris International should achieve the carbon neutrality. But it's also more importantly, how do we address the remaining impact of our carbon footprint going beyond our direct operations. We have a very ambitious target that by 2040 we should achieve a net zero impact across all the value chain.
Thinking about impact across your entire value chain is not only important because it is the right thing to do, but because it will soon be enshrined in law. In Bonn, Germany, we spoke to two EU legislators who helped to draft the CSRD and the upcoming CSDDD, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive.
I'm Greta Koch. I'm a policy advisor of Axel Voss, member of the European Parliament for the Bonn region. Politics has always been part of my DNA. My father was in local politics, even my grandfather was in local politics. And something that always really stuck with me that he told me was you don't build your wealth on the misery of other people. This is essentially what we're trying to achieve with due diligence. Companies should take responsibility where their responsibility is due. Trace where in their supply chains they have risks, and if a company causes or contributes to a risk, then they should be responsible for that, they should mitigate that, and they should track that progress. And that is really what due diligence is all about.
My advice to CEOs would be that they should take this seriously, that a CEO is thinking about these alternative productions or reducing emissions, challenging your processes internally. If you're building a car or if your product is a car, then you have to be aware how your leather seats might be created. Supervision of how your materials are coming to you, checking your supply chain and your value chain. If companies can't fulfill the requirements, it might create a kind of a bad image for them. Of course, at the end, there are always sanctions.
In the Netherlands, we spoke with the CEO of Datamaran, a seasoned veteran of sustainability in business, who explains how these regulations will have a ripple effect across the globe.
What's interesting about CSRD and CSDDD is that it has the Brussels effect. What that means is that although this is originated in the EU, because of the global nature of these businesses with international value chains, everyone is paying attention. We already know that over 10,000 companies, non-EU companies, are affected directly already anyway. But given the fact that value chains are complex and lots of entities sit in each other's value chains, companies are paying particular attention to what happens in Brussels. What's even more, I think, pressing about the CSDDD is that there are severe repercussions for non-compliance, up to 5% of your global revenue in fines potentially if you are in non-compliance with this regulation.
The pressure on business is rising. While regulators want companies to do more, there is also a rising tide of skepticism. For some in the market, ESG has lost a bit of its shine. In New York, we spoke with Terence Keeley, a well-known fund manager and author of Ending ESG and Restoring the Economic Enlightenment.
You know, the status of the ESG movement today really does bear a lot of reflection. I would argue that the principal challenges that ESG has had is that it's overpromised and underdelivered. The ESG movement was really born out of the United Nations Principles for Responsible Investing in 2005 and 2006. And since that time, there's been a thesis that by investing in accordance with these various rules or various ESG ratings, one could simultaneously generate a good market-related return, as well as somehow benefit the planet or benefit people, benefit some social or environmental cause. The real sad thing is that looking at the field, and it's about a $30 trillion field today, it's actually accomplished neither of those objectives. It has neither generated market-related returns, nor has it, and I'll quote Bill Gates here, arguably taken 1 ton of carbon out of the air.
Over the past few years, we have also seen a series of well-documented missteps made by often well-intentioned corporations.
The recent case of Bud Light is just too important to ignore. Some advertising executives, along with an ESG department at Budweiser, determined that there was a demographic that was being underserved by the particular beverage, Bud Light, and so they targeted an advertising campaign that was intended to grow market share in that segment. Well, unfortunately, the marketers didn't do a very good job at understanding that that particular demographic also would work against another demographic, which was Bud Light's biggest drinkers. Bud Light has still not come anywhere close to the market share that it enjoyed prior to that advertising campaign. Did that serve a useful social cause? Did that achieve something useful commercially? No, it did not. Would have been better off without it. There's an example of ESG in excess.
Against this backdrop of increased noise and shifting sentiment, some companies have gone quiet on their ESG efforts, or green hushing, as it is known. But there is a group of leaders who remain steadfast and laser-focused on their sustainability vision. Like the leaders of the next company that we visited, the global software provider, IFS.
IFS is the world's leading provider of industrial AI and enterprise application software for those businesses making, servicing, and powering our planet. Sustainability at IFS has never been a buzzword for us. It's always been a core value that's evolved over a number of years, and it's been a fundamental strategic priority.
Hardwired into the IFS offering is a sustainable idea, achieving efficiencies, doing more with less.
We make a real difference by enabling customers to achieve more with less, to reduce waste, to reuse resources, and improve environmental and social impact. A customer that we're working with really intimately is Rolls-Royce. And Rolls-Royce have been utilizing our IFS technology to extend the time between their engine overhauls by as much as 45%, which has got significant impact on carbon emissions, equating to between 10 and 30 million kilograms of CO2. And that's been achieved by integrating IFS software with what they call their Blue Data Thread program. And that allows real-time data exchange and predictive maintenance capabilities.
Helping clients be sustainable is only half the story. IFS are also looking inward to make sure they are walking the talk.
All companies need to first look inwards to think about how are you a great place to work and how we can represent the diverse communities that we work in and to minimize our environmental impact. In the tech industry, gender diversity is a challenge. And so we target annual increases in female managers, including tackling challenging areas such as representation of women in technical roles, where we outperform the industry. We then have a decarbonisation strategy based around reduce, replace and engage. So reduction of emissions, and we have a science-based target taking us to 2030 for emissions reduction. We then replace the energy that we're using 100% renewable electricity across our sites and offices. And that really resonates with employees and is an important touch point for them.
With every great advance comes unique challenges. For cloud computing, the big one is the rise in energy and water use from server farms. But IFS are already one step ahead.
When it comes to cloud software, I think the externalities as environmental costs can often be hidden, but now they're really starting to come to the fore with the rise of AI. And Google, for example, recently released its emissions reporting, and it's up by 50% compared to the previous year, mainly from AI and the associated jump in data center usage. So we have to think about how can we justify that energy use, that water use, and bring that down as much as possible. And at IFS, we look at this through the life cycle of the product. So firstly, we design our solutions to run as efficiently as possible with next generation architecture that scales to near zero when not in use, which also makes sense from a cost perspective. Then we work with our cloud hosting partners, so Microsoft Azure, for example, which next year will run all of its data centers on renewable electricity, and which is applying innovative liquid immersion cooling methods to reduce the water and energy use that's needed for AI chips.
Having met the leaders at PMI and IFS, having listened to our experts, what have we learned? What are the lessons we have taken away? Change can only happen if we are truly bold.
Fortune favours the brave. It's not only true, but necessary in sustainability, that we're brave and bold. Time is not on our side, and it's not enough to keep up or merely comply. The world needs business to lead from the front with ambitious climate action, embedding social responsibility in its value chains, in global supply chains. This could mean, for example, setting targets where we don't have all the answers immediately as to how we'll get there, and being okay with that. We have to be innovative and bold in our ambition. This is how we show leadership.
We discovered the purpose of purpose.
If you want to drive the company or yourself actually through the massive change, you need to first of all believe in the purpose of this change. If you don't believe into this, sooner or later you will react very negatively to any hiccups and any roadblocks which you can encounter. Any major change inevitably forces you to go through the territories which was never explored by the people before you. Therefore, you're going to unknown. You will have a positive, but you also will have a negative surprises. You need to believe in what you're doing.
We learned that smart business thinking and sustainability are often the same thing.
Sustainability is intrinsically linked with doing things better. Smart business thinking and sustainability, honestly, I believe they go hand in hand. If you're maximizing your resources, you're minimizing waste, you're going to be reducing energy consumption, and you're enhancing business performance, but that's also driving meaningful environmental impact. So I think they're not mutually exclusive. I think with a focus on sustainability, I really believe this, you can drive real change in business and commercial performance.
We learned that if we don't solve these problems, who will?
I tended to be the kind of person that would think about the things that I didn't like and I would cancel them or boycott them. But I think that over time I have realized that that is not really the way to go about change. That turning a blind eye, the only thing that is achieving is making the problem somebody else's problem to solve. When you want to address those things that bother you so deeply, you really need to go right into the heart of the issue to change them radically. And so I thought the best way to effect change would be to actually go into that company and try that. And I've been here since.
And above all, when faced with doubt, your vision needs to make sense.
As a leader today, if your vision makes sense, and you have the data to back up that vision, you will succeed. And at the end of the day, this is about common sense. That's what ESG boils down to. If you prioritize those material ESG risks and opportunities that are important to your business, you will thrive.